Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. I'm joined by SwimSwam co-founder Mel Stewart and Katinka Hosszu. Katinka, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
Wow, I'm doing pretty well. Who cares how Mel's doing? So we wanted to talk about tough, gritty swimmers today, and you were the Iron Lady. To start that off, can you tell us a little bit about the background of your brand as Iron Lady and what inspired you to want to be that image for swimmers?
It's pretty crazy because I think it's all started back in Hungary. I think Hungarian swimming is famous of how hard and long we train over here. So I actually grew up while my grandfather was coaching me until I was 13, 14 years old. And then I got in the national team. And we had some really tough training camps. It was really like a boot camp, I guess. Like it was really like getting ready for war. I had I think the longest session I had was 14 kilometers. That was just one session. Yeah, we did some really crazy things. There was one time. It was we had cut times, like we had times we had to hit during practice, and everyone had their own. We had a lot of assistant coaches who were just there to watch if you make these times, and if someone didn't make something, they just noted up, and we had to do it again after practice or end of practice. And I actually had a practice that I had to repeat the whole thing. So I just didn't hit any times that I was supposed to, and I kept doing it because obviously for the second time you're definitely not gonna hit the times, and I was just swimming from the morning until the afternoon practice, and then they came for afternoon practice, and then I swam with them for for afternoon practice. So this is how kind of my swimming career started when I was teenager, and then I went to the US. I went to USC, and for me it was just so much fun training in the US, and everyone was just having fun. Practices were like an hour and a half long, and a bit of gym, and it was just all fun, and the dual meets were really fun. And at USC, for definitely I saw the difference of trainings, and how in the US, I think in general you guys really focus on quality and rather than the quantity. And for me it was very beneficial, but it made me pretty tough. So for me, even if it was really intense training, an hour and a half seems so short. So it started with the dual meets. I swam every race that nobody else wanted. So it usually was, 2 fly, 4 IM mile, maybe the 500 freestyle. And then, Dave would just put me in any kind of relay that would need some help. So I would just swim pretty much anything. So I loved racing. I actually didn't really like training, probably because of my background and how much I used to swim. So I loved the racing. I loved the atmosphere in competitions, and I would just keep going with racing. And so after college, with the World Cup series, for me it was so cool that I could just choose my races, and I could just go to any kind of competition and gain money, and basically train with the racing as well. Of course, I learned that training is important, so obviously you can race a lot more if you are in a really good shape. So I kind of learned that throughout the years, and that's how basically with all these aspects and my background together, that's when I could say that that's how the Iron Lady evolved.
Yeah, so my question is this: when you were a teenager back in Hungary and you were doing this kind of training, I mean, all swimmers go through this. Did you think, God, I cannot do this through an Olympic dream? I can't keep training this way. Did you ever consider quitting?
Yeah, I can't
Oh,
believe you stuck with it.
I hated swimming. I hated swimming so much that I actually told everyone that do not call me a swimmer. I still do it as a hobby. Uh, that 6-7 hours of swimming a day. I do it as a hobby. I am not a swimmer. Um, and I just really hated training, and I really hated swimming because I thought that this is what swimming is about. And I with that kind of training and that kind of mentality, and it was not only the training, that also the mentality was very negative. You all only heard how bad you were, how you're lazy, how I was also considered fat. Like all these things that it was just adding up. And I really hated it, but I wanted to go to the US with scholarship. So originally when I learned to swim, and when I was swimming with my grandfather, I love swimming. And I think he's a great coach, and he's a great mentor of mine. I think I learned so much from him, and this is still what I benefit from. He taught me how to set goals. He taught me how to work hard but still have fun, and the racing without pressure, just to try to do your best. And and at that time, I really believed that I will be an Olympic champion. And he told me all the time that I can be, and he believes in me, and he thinks I'm talented, and I work hard, and I just have to keep pushing, and I can do it. And then when I got to this other environment, I really lost these kind of goals and dreams and hopes that I can. When I went to the Beijing Olympics, that's when I was 19 years old, and I was 12th place. So I mean, I don't think it's now looking back, I don't think it was a bad result, but at the time, it just, everyone told me it's a disaster, and I should probably quit swimming because at 18, I mean, I should be already an Olympic champion. So I really hated the environment, and in my mind at that time, I thought you can only be an Olympic champion if you are not having fun, if you're just training literally all day and you're sad and just miserable. That's what they showed me at the time. And that's when, thankfully, I went to USC, and right after Beijing in 2008, I started college there. And it took me 1 year to love swimming again, and I became a world champion in 2009, a year later.
That that's so sad. But such a great turnaround. That's so cool to hear that kind of a shift. And so how did your training shift once you were out of college and into those World Cups, versus the kind of quantity quality, balance that you talked about?
Yeah. So it was crazy actually going through college as well, because in 2009, as I said, I became a world champion. And after that, I kind of completely shifted the other way. I was like, oh, this is all fun and games. Like, oh, maybe, in the summer I can just train once a day. That kind of, I went to the other side. And for, I think it was 2011. So the next World Championships, I only got a 6th place, and I didn't even make the final on the 4 IM. So I really I had a really long journey in swimming. So I feel like I kind of tried all over the place, everything. And so in 2011, in the summer, I was really disappointed with myself, and I realized that, okay, fun and games, that's fine, but you have to train, and you have to put the work in, and you have to focus, and this is how the results will come. And I learned that in 2009, a year later, after being 12th in the world, becoming a champion, it was not necessarily, I think I put the work in before, in Hungary, all those years, all the training I had. So the year maybe was the same that the years after, until 2011, but I kind of started losing, all the endurance and all the training that I had before. So going into the 2011-2012 year, my last college year, and going into Olympics, I decided, right after World Champs, I went to training. I didn't take a break, and I was like, okay, I need to train now. And unfortunately, I kind of did the same as I knew before in Hungary. So I started training maybe a bit too much again. I did, so I told Dave that I think I need to train a lot more. So I did the college training from 6 to 7:30. Then I stayed in the water for another half hour, and then I swam with the Trojan Swim Club from 8 to 10. And then I came back to the pool 2 to 4, and then I ran afterwards. And then I was still, obviously, I was still graduating, so I had a lot of schoolwork to do. I obviously was a team captain. I was preparing for NCAA's, and obviously in 2012 it ended up I was basically fourth place in London, which for me was also devastating. I thought it was really awful because I thought I could win. I was already a world champion. I did the work. I thought I knew a lot of things, but I had to. And then I realized that, studying and going to NCAA's and graduating and preparing for the Olympics, it is really, really tough to manage. And I thought that I can do a lot more if I only focus on swimming for a while. So I think that was the biggest change. I had a lot more rest. I ate much better because obviously I had the time to focus on it. And I started lifting weights. These were the things that changed for me becoming a professional swimmer. I had obviously control over my own schedule, which was obviously also different, choosing the swim meets and deciding on the training plan. Obviously, at the time working with Shane, it was only the two of us. Everything was very flexible with the training and the traveling. So even on travel days, I would try to swim something, or so it was everything basically. What I think was big difference for me is that everything was based around my needs and planned around it.
The interesting thing is there's this. I have very hard opinions about people and their careers, and I don't trust people who are successful all the time. I think maybe it's talent, maybe it's luck. I don't trust someone, especially in sport, if they haven't suffered and had big disappointments. And I knew you had disappointments. I'm aware of your disappointments. I mean, you're one of the most famous swimmers on earth, period. But I didn't know that you had this, you tried everything, you had this many disappointments. So I'm a bigger Katinka fan just in the last
Thank
10
you.
minutes. So
Thank
here's
you. And I could even tell you a lot more, but sum it up.
so here's the thing. What part of your history gave you the most resolve to evolve into the Iron Lady? Was it the fourth place? What was the moment? Where did you think in your head, I've had it, I'm done, from this point on, I'm going to win and be successful? What was that moment?
For me, definitely. For me, I wish I could say something, Hollywood-like, and say that moment, and I knew. Looking back, I know it was the fourth place in London. And you know why? Because it was a fourth place, but it wasn't really a fourth place. It was actually a third place. So I went to the 4IM. I think I prepared pretty well. I knew I can swim around 4:30, 4:31. And I thought I can win. I thought I can win that race. Obviously, ended up Yishuan swimming 4:28 and Baisel swimming really well. But the point is that in my mind, I went out and I wanted to win, and I never thought about not winning. Um, and I got really scared the last second because I saw it like being really afraid of losing. And honestly, before the Olympics, I was all I talked to Rebecca Sonia, I talked to Osama Meluli. I was swimming with them. They were already Olympic champions. I was like, how do you think about this, or what do you do? And I might have just understood wrongly. I'm not sure, but they told me just think positive, think that you're gonna win, and be really confident. So I translated for me that it means that, okay, don't think about losing. I just have to think about winning. And I never had a plan B, or I never was thinking, imagining maybe losing. So I never even played with the idea. And that was my biggest mistake before the London 4 a.m. final. That in the last call room, I started like freeze, like, oh, but if what if what if it's not gonna happen? I was 23 years old. That was my third Olympic Games. I was already world champion, European champion. I mean, that was my time. This is my time to shine. Like, I got to do this now. And so I was really super scared, and I didn't want to swim at that point. I was just wanting to hide. I was like, I don't. I mean, I was just too scared of the results. I was really only focusing on the outcome. And during the swim, it was the same. In the 200 meters, I was still leading, I think maybe with the body length. And I was already thinking like, oh, my legs started hurting. And I think Beisel is really coming on the breaststroke. And then there is issue. And I was thinking, and come to the freestyle, they were obviously issue and Beisel, we all know that race, they were way ahead. And I was like, wow, I just lost my Olympic gold, and now it's a bronze medal. And it's like, I mean, I didn't want to win a bronze medal, I wanted to win. And I was already thinking like, okay, like, what am I gonna do with the bronze medal? And I wanted to be a champion. And in the last 10 meters, I was just gliding. I touched the wall. I was really slow turning, putting my goggles on and turning to the screen to check my time. And I checked my time, and I see I got fourth, because the other Chinese beat me in the last 10 meters. And I was so pissed off. You have no idea. I literally, and not even pissed off at the time. I was ashamed, because I knew that was not, I could have swum that race again, like 3 minutes later, and probably swim the same time or better, and I was so pissed off myself. And it took me a long time to, I think it took me a couple months or even more to, the World Cup got me back to it. I started racing and just enjoying racing and training. And I really, like, right after the games, I wasn't sure if I will be in Rio. So I needed a lot of time. And then when I realized that I really enjoy racing and swimming still, then I kind of, what helped me a lot is just kind of let it go and saying that, okay, I'm not swimming for the Olympic gold. So before Rio, for a long time, it was my mentality. I'm not swimming for the Olympic gold. I'm trying to do my own thing. I'm going to race a lot, which I love. I had a partner who was helping me with that. And we did the thing that, I thought that was the best. And that was the journey that got me to Rio. And it was crazy because I kind of let it go. And I wasn't holding on so tight to have that gold medal. And that's when got me 3 gold medals. But obviously throughout those years, I really consciously, every big meet, every competition, I try to give my best, because that's the one thing I knew for sure, that this is not going to happen again. that I'm climbing out of the water, and I knew this was not my best race.
So let's talk inspiration. Kind of, flip to that. I know you've talked about Michael Jordan being a big inspiration for you. Why was he so iconic for you coming up in the sport?
Well, actually, my father used to be a professional basketball player, and my big brother still plays in a second league in Germany, and both my brothers were playing basketball. And actually, when I was 10 years old, I remember my father actually sat me down, that he wanted to talk to me seriously, and he said that, Katinka, swimming is a very boring sport, and you can only live off of swimming if you're going to be the best in the world. And he said that, I think you should play basketball. Basketball is fun. You can be on a team. You don't have to perform your best all the time, because at least you have teammates. And so it was my grandfather and my father trying to decide what the sport I'm going to play. And I actually told my dad, no, I love swimming. I love to have my own lane. I don't want to deal with the teammates. And it's crazy, because growing up, obviously I was watching a lot of basketball games, and going into my big brother's room, everywhere there was Michael Jordan posters. And I was collecting the basketball cards and everything. So and we had actually a basketball hoop in our garden, so we played a lot with my brothers and my father as well. So I was already around the sport a lot, and watching Michael Jordan, like, I thought that, okay, that he's doing it in basketball, but I think you could do that in swimming. Why couldn't you? And because at the beginning, when before Air Jordan, they were looking at Michael Jordan like, what are you trying to do here? You're not a tennis player. I think now it's so crazy to hear, because it's so obvious that all the basketball players have their brands and their shoe line, and I thought it would be so cool to help swimming that way, and just do it in swimming, because I think swimming is cool.
I got to jump in here and move this a little bit forward. When I think of the International Swimming League, I think of you, and I don't know that the International Swimming League could be viable in people's minds if they hadn't witnessed you do what you did for years and years, becoming the Iron Lady. That's a personal opinion from a swimming peer, a fellow Olympian, but do you hear that from your peers? Do people share that with you? Do you hold that same opinion?
For me, it's so crazy, because I really, really appreciate and happy how my swimming career and my swimming journey has evolved. So I've been the swimmer who is a bit chubby and not very good, and watching the big swimmers, and how cool it would be to, oh my god, like, break a world record, and being someone who is the best in the world. So I kind of probably can see or understand better in both ways how it probably looks like. But inside me, I'm still kind of that girl, who came and just tried again, tried again. And at the end, at age 27, finally got what I always wanted. But throughout this journey, and figuring out my own way of swimming and racing and training and mentally practicing, obviously during the journey, I didn't realize that I'm inspiring people and I'm changing swimming. So it's so crazy to look back now and talk about it and think about it. And like, Sarah Sjörström says it to me all the time, that he would have probably just stuck with the 100 fly if she doesn't see me swimming all these races. And for me, it's like I look up to Sarah, you know, and I mean, she's really cool and she's amazingly fast. And she tells me that I inspired her to do more races. I think that's, for me, at the end of my, at the end when I will have my end of my career, this is something that I definitely will be a lot more proud of than the gold medals. Um, and the ISL, that's something that, you know, is really cool to be a part of, because as I said, I think swimming can be fun and swimming can be a show and it can be entertaining. And you know, as I said, it's at first we look at it like, what the hell is this, and where is it coming from, and it's weird, but hopefully it will grow itself out. And I think us within the swimming community, we see how far it could go.
So to maybe to wrap on that a little bit, what more do you want for the sport? You've already given so much as the Iron Lady. You know, like Mel said, yeah, I don't think the ISL could have happened without everyone seeing you, you know, go back to back races for years and years. What more do you see the sport blossoming into?
Um, I think it's really is going in the right direction now. I think we see potentials, but there is still a lot of work to do and a lot of time that will go into until we can say that, okay, we have arrived. And I don't know if we will say it at the time that we have arrived, but I think now we are in a good direction, and I hope that, you know, that that we are moving, you know, with ISL. You can see that FINA is trying to change as well, having more swim meets, and you know, this is all so positives for swimming. So for me, my goal is to try to stay within the sport as long as I still love the racing and training, but I know my voice is the loudest while I still swim. So I definitely want to try to achieve as much as I can until I'm still an active swimmer.
I don't want to talk about retirement, but I'm going to talk about retirement. The plan B, when you're done, is it ownership of a professional franchise? Is it swimming education? Is it, or would you be a commentator? Would you do television? What does your life look like post swimming?
I don't want to stress too much about it, but I do stress a lot about it. I'm not gonna lie. I talk about it all the time. I do have a swim club, a swim school in Hungary, Iron Swim. I am a part owner in Iron, in ISL. So there are a lot of things that, you know, I am already doing that I can still do, obviously after retiring. But I'm definitely want to be involved and see how these things go, and what I would like to do.
Okay.
All right, we have about 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna ask, if you have, you know, what's one of the best practices you've ever had, or one of your favorite workouts, and what's one of, I mean, you told us the the workout you had to swim twice into an afternoon practice. That sounded pretty bad, but maybe what's one of the worst, you know, or a recent set that really kicked your butt?
For me, I think, just adding on to last time you asked me like how my training changed, and throughout all these years, I kind of now I have like a mix of everything, because I think quantity is still important as well as quality. So I kind of try to mesh them together. But there is one like traditional Hungarian set, IM set, that I can tell you about. I still like to do it. It's just, for me, if I do it, it's very long. I think it's 6.4 kilometers, and the set itself, and I just feel good that I did it. I used to obviously hate it when I was a teenager, but now because I choose to do it, it's a different story. So it's 4-1 fly, 4 IM, 4-1 freestyle, 400 freestyle. Then it's 4-1 back, 4 IM, 4-1 free, 400 free, 4-1 breast, 400 IM, 4-1 free, 400 free, and then 4-1 free, 4 IM, 4-1 free, 400 freestyle. It's a very simple set, but you can obviously change it up like with the intervals, the intensity, and the cut times.
Perfect. Well, Mel, you have anything else to add at the end?
Yes, I want to know this. I want to know what does it feel like when you're competing in the United States? Because swimming is on a certain level in the United States. And what do you feel when you're competing in Europe? Can you describe the difference? Because we are now witnessing it with the International Swimming League. We're seeing what we're seeing is it looks like swimming is a very big deal in Europe. And in the United States, it's sort of like, it's cool for us in the community, but beyond that, no.
It is, it's crazy to race in Europe, especially obviously for me in Budapest. So the amount of people come out to the World Cup and to an ISL stop, we can have 5,000 people on the stands, and it's really 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 cool, and the atmosphere is great, and I don't know. All the streamers tell me that Budapest World Champs were probably the best in the atmosphere and the cheering. I mean, my knees were shaking before the 2 IM final. That's for sure. It was really crazy. In the US, I love to race because it's so laid back. So for me, like, even, everybody is just so chill and, oh yeah, we are racing, but even the swimmers. So the swimmers have like a different mentality, different culture, which I love, because for me, this is something that is inspiring because I'm not from that culture. We are more like, I feel like before races and during competition, we're more tied up and serious and focused, and probably a bit more nervous, and not as confident and loose as American swimmers. So I do like to race there. Some of the, or a lot of the American swimmers just go there in their race suit and with the swim cap. Oh yeah, we race. Like, I'm freezing. Like, I have to put on my warm-ups, my shoes, my socks. I have to have everything like exactly ready to go. And that gives me like a different kind of perception, and that's what I liked, obviously, when I went to USC back in the time. That for me it was so different, and I really enjoyed that in the US.
2 minutes left. Super quick answer. Do you manage all of your own social media, or do you have people who help you?
I do manage. I only have access. I'm the only admin. And I do have employees who help me sometimes with videos or pictures, but other than that, it's me.
In your country, a lot of interesting people have run for office. Would you ever be a politician in Hungary?
People already asked me that, even in Hungary, and I would only be one if I know that I do have a lot of good advisors, and we can actually make a great change.
Perfect. That's our time. Thank you so much, Katinka. This was awesome. It was so great to hear about your swimming background, your swimming story. Yeah, really appreciate you.
And I'm happy to do anytime. Like, I'm available, especially nowadays with the no racing. So yeah, talk to you guys soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katinka.